All right, and we are live, and I'm here with good buddy Matt Forney,
Hey, kids.
and we're gonna hang on, making sure this is going out okay on the old YouTubes here. All right, so before I get into some things I wanted to talk about today, I'm gonna there's a little something I heard on the radio today. I just thought it was worth sharing. Um, I listen to a lot of the Christian, radio, the sermons and stuff. Not so much the music, but the sermons and all that. And there's one in particular. It's a preacher named Steve Brown. He has a ministry called Key Life, and big fan of it. It's actually a thing that was a major influence in me coming to Christ. Anyways, he told this story today, and it was a story that some preacher buddy had told him. And the story goes that, this preacher's working in this church as the church was getting renovated, right? So the preacher just sort of felt like, I guess I need to try and, talk to these construction workers about Jesus. Just not wanting to do it at all, but what, I guess I got to do it. Goes up to the roof, and there's just, this guy's just, this tatted up, hard ass looking dude, right? And he starts preaching to the guy a little bit, and the guy's like, "I'm going to stop you right there, preacher. Jesus ain't going to want nothing to do with me. I'm too evil." And the preacher, he's trying to give him the big spiel about, oh, well, Christ came to save the wretched and all this other stuff. And the guy's just hearing none of it. And the preacher finally, in a moment of rare honesty, the kind of honesty that civilization wouldn't function if we did all the time, the preacher says to him, I'm worse than you. And he's like, how do you figure? And he goes, well, you see that Burger King across the street? When I'm done talking to you, I'm going to go over to the Burger King and have a burger and forget I ever met you. Because truth be told, I don't care. And he looked at him and he said, you're going to spend eternity in hell apart from Christ. I believe that with all my heart. And truth be told, it doesn't really bother me.
Give that man a beer.
That is what Christianity is really about. That level of honesty with yourself. That's what it's all about. So, in the vein of the exact opposite of that, let's talk about Davis Arini a little bit. So this was brought to my attention. It was shared on my Discord too, even. I'm not going to read all this, but Arini, somebody was asking. Somebody said to Davis something about your stuff isn't good anymore. What do you do? Just a general, what are you doing? Question to Davis, as almost everyone has been asking him. What the fuck are you doing, man? So Davis Arini responded at one point here. I'm sorry if all the live streams have not been up to snuff. I was wondering these days if 90% of my old audience was listening to my words, but only hearing what they wanted to hear, hearing misogyny. It makes me wonder what I dedicated the past 10 years of my life to. Matt, you said something about you think Richard Spencer is going to go full leftist on us. I don't know. I think Davis might beat him to it. I've been here, I'm getting accused all the time from Davis. Of he won't see me by name, but I hate the reason I have a problem with the Catholic interpretation of marriage because I hate women. I hate women. There's a lot of this I hate women shit getting thrown around. Now, look, it's certainly questionable as to whether or not a female sidekick is the best idea in our particular type of live streams. But that's not really the problem anybody has, Davis. That's not the problem at all. And if you're really going to sit here and be going all soggy knees on us, I just just when I think, maybe I'm gonna shy away from this topic for a little bit. It's like you just shit your pants again in a brand new way. And then somebody said to him, "You're like, maybe a lot of your trad Catholic audience is turned off by this." He says, "I haven't had a single trad Catholic friend of mine criticize anything. It's been entirely non-churchgoers who are attacking me. Apparently, I'm a non-churchgoer."
I truly doubt that, by the way. He's probably just redefining trad calves to just be like people who agree with him.
I know Purveyor of Mercy, who is, fucking Shiite Catholic he's so far. I know he, on Twitter, has been unmerciful to Davis. So I know of at least one that I can point to.
Yeah, Purveyor of Mercy also watches my streams.
So yeah, I know he's not happy with Davis.
That really is the cheapest insult you can imagine, the whole misogyny thing. Because we don't like no. We don't like. It's not that we don't like women. It's that I'm critical of women. As an irony bro, I'm required to hate women now. But the other people. The issue is not women. It's one particular woman. It's not even Mary, despite what Davis would claim. It's a certain woman who looks like Meatloaf and identified openly as a feminist not 2 years ago.
So I mentioned this on your stream. I keep forgetting that I didn't do this on my stream. So last night we were talking on your stream. You had a gaming stream. We talked a little bit about Davis's show. Not Davis. The Free Folk show from Sunday that I managed to watch. I think Monday night or something. I actually found it pretty fucking funny. So now it's a slow burn kind of humor. I don't recommend it for everybody because it is pretty boring, but there's little bits in there. So there's this guy, he's one of the leadership of the Free Folk now. Because I'm not sure if they even know him. Supposedly he lives in Canada, as well as Davis, but I don't think they know him. Maybe they do, but his name is Gangrene, Gangar, Gonorrhea, something like that. It's some bullshit made up name along those lines. Well, this guy's like in their live stream, and he, first of all, he sounds like he's 104. He has such an old man voice that it sounds like he's faking an old man voice. You know what I mean?
Hey guys, I'm old. Don't you believe me? I'm old.
So he's in there and he can't figure out how to work the Discord. And it's like he's popping in and out to the point where you can't understand him. But then they keep trying to interrupt him to say, like, you're coming in and out, but he can't hear them and stuff. He's just shitting up the whole place. And it's so perfect. I almost don't buy that it's real. I wonder if he's just some troll. Like if it's really some 16-year-old kid fucking with him or something. I guess because they got no fucking OPSEC. All right. They got no fucking OPSEC. So those parts are hilarious. They are hilarious. They are fucking performance art. Like this guy, I kind of lean towards troll. Like this guy's some sort of Andy Kaufman like act. He's pulling on these fuckers. Well, so there was that part, and then they're going on about the trifold hypothesis of society. So in their Triforce hypothesis, they claim that society has three functions. The third function is the what do they call it? The mercantile class. The function above that is the warrior class. And then the function above that is the priest/king class. I think artists are lumped into that too, according to them. I'm confused. Now, of course, when we build our new wonderful pagan society, of course, all Haythrun and Burbork or whatever, and Gengar and Old Rooney, of course, they're first. They're of course on the top. That doesn't make them better than you. It's just some some animals are more equal than others. You know, the pigs need more apples because of their big brains. Did Animal Farm teach us that? So the pigs need more apples because of their big brains. So, you know, Davis and Hadron and fucking Furburger and Gengar, they're going to need more apples because they're big brain nibbas.
And of course, the determination that they are part of the king class, the ruler class, is how is that determined again? Oh wait, because they just say they are. There's no proof.
Yeah, well, I mean, isn't it obvious, Matt?
Maybe Haythrun found it in one of the ancient texts where she claimed that Arini is descended from a long line of witches.
I love the
a thing she said on Carolyn Emmerich's live stream.
There's a Family Guy bit where like it's the founder of Mormonism, Joseph Smith. He like finds this rock in the ground, and they're like, "What's it say?" And he goes, it says everybody has to sleep with me, and no dancing." So I think Hadron might have found it on that same rock. Man. So of course they're the first function. All the functions are important. They're just the most important. They were also going on about there's also the thrall class, which is apparently the fourth piece of the fucking Triforce here. But it doesn't count because they're just the thrall class. They're going on and on about this. And what really struck me, you know how in Star Trek there's that bullshit communism that like pops up in it?
Yes.
Which is often undermined within Star Trek itself. Like, yeah, of course the guys that have the cushy government job on board the Enterprise get all their needs taken care of, and they don't need money, but the rest of the galaxy is trading gold plus latinum. Or gold press latinum or whatever, you know? So even Star Trek itself undermines its own bullshit communism. But this really struck me as like a medieval version of that, where it's like, well, everybody's just going to have the job that's best for them. And we're just going to know what that job is for everybody. And we're going to just give it to them. And it's going to work out great. It was quite the entertaining little show. I listened to it as I was playing a little Mario Kart, and I was having a blast with it.
I might do a stream on this. It's either going to be this or like the streamer Richard Spencer had a meltdown the other day over his soon to be ex-wife's accusations of physical abuse.
Why not both?
Because how long is the Free Folk stream?
I think it's like 2 hours, to be honest.
Well, the Richard Spencer one is 2.5 hours. I'm not going to be streaming for about these two idiots for 5 hours straight.
Like I said, I had it on in the background while I was doing other shit. So yeah, it's very interesting though. It's you know, they're going to build this great society. I imagine trying to go up to somebody, because this is the other thing that we're going on about. Like, see, we're gonna trade with each other within our super secret tribe, and that way we don't have to rely on outside help that much within our host society, right? And see, what they're going to do is like one guy in a tribe will be a car mechanic, and he'll fix your car in exchange for, I guess, Hadron will just give him a bunch of soy candles or something. I don't know, but we're gonna trade stuff.
We're gonna get away from the system of currency, which has propelled every civilization since literally Sumer, and we're gonna start bartering each other like a bunch of savages in our compound in Idaho, sustained by online poker. That was, in fact, what I have not listened to this stream because life is too short, Bechtloff, but what you're describing sounds like you remember Mike Anisimov? Well, we all remember Mike Anisimov. About 5 years ago, he was promoting the idea of all the neo-reactionaries moving to this monarchist compound in Idaho. where I guess they would wait out the collapse of civilization or some shit. They were going to go full Ruby Ridge. And when someone asked him how this commune would be sustained financially, he said, "Oh, we'll just have some people play online poker and make money that way."
It's just that easy.
Yes. Yeah, very, very, very much good thinking there. Yes.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna fund my cult of the Crimson Bulbasaur by I plan on winning the Powerball Saturday.
Yes.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, Powerball, online poker, all you people are amateurs. I'm founding my cult on playing roulette because I'm really good at that.
I don't know. I got a good feeling about that Powerball this weekend. I think this is my week.
My cult's monthly state budget will consist partially of casino cop cards.
Somebody in the chat just says IRS is going to love this group. Audits aplenty for the free folk. Yeah, the thought audit. Now we're moving on to the free folk audit. This guy. What have you done with yourself, Davis? What have you done here? I'm floored. I'm floored. Like, I keep wondering, like, when am I going to hit bottom on this topic? And every time I just glance at him, I'm not even doing a ton of research. This isn't like Medicare with his weaponized autism, where he digs through hours and hours of content and page after page of forum posts or something. Like, no, I just every once in a while I glance at it. And it's just like I haven't listened to any of the Free Folk Radio shit yet. I think maybe I listened to like a minute or two of like the first episode, and it was just so boring. But it was just, I was playing Mario Kart, and I figured, I had my phone with me, and I was looking for something to play. I was like, fuck it, I want to play some Free Folk. There we go. Put it on in the background when I'm playing some Mario Kart and unlocking some new carts and shit.
William Watson points out in the chat that he says, I watched a rainy stream of Kurt Doolittle. This is all shit they've gotten from him. See, the classes trade with each other in autism. Yeah, that's a good point. Kurt Doolittle is like a grade A fucking weirdo. Anyone who hangs around him or listens to anything he says, like, just stay far away. And just like how the misogyny shit is a ring he picked up from Hey Throne. You know what it goes back to? Is remember when John Steele had to run in with the Free Folk back in October because he jokingly told Hey Throne that she should know her place as a woman, and she took super offensive this as a Vila or whatever, and
as a Bob Vila.
And Bullworker was gonna use his moonshine still to put the Sheeny curse on him if he didn't apologize publicly. This is where it comes from. All these like all these like pagan fucking groups are always quasi-feminist, always, because they always put women in positions of power. This big fakey made up spirituality that you got like idiots like Karen Emmerich who say the same thing. Christianity is misogynistic because there's only one God and he's a male. Well, that's the truth of it, ladies. You were who the hell? What kind of a fucked up theology would put women in any kind of position of power aside from certain branches of Protestantism? Yayo! Just kidding, folks. But paganism is the absolute worst.
I don't know if I'm going to take that shit from a Mary worshiper.
I said certain, okay? I said certain.
See, you notice how we didn't just end the friendship right there, Davis?
You know how I didn't just quit and I'm now doing a live stream calling Bechtloff a liar.
I mean, honestly, if you're gonna have your weird gynocentric cult, you could at least be, having some sexy, femdom chick in a leather bustier. Instead, you're kissing Meatloaf's ass. I mean, Davis, you're actually doing pagan cult wrong.
Well, it's like the whole point of a cult. I said this on the Saturday show. It seems like the number one reason you would want to join a cult, or in Ernie's case, found a cult, is to get a lot of pussy. Okay, that's what happened at Jonestown. That's what happened with the flirty fishing for Jesus, all this shit. But the only woman apparently involved with this cult is in her late 40s, menopausal, and looks like Meatloaf. So,
and you got to share with a priest of hell.
Yes. Bolverker and Arini, Hathlin's inviting them to a fertility ritual where they will both finish on her pollinate her face.
Yeah, what was it? Jay Dyer said he goes, Wicca was founded by some guy who wanted to have a bunch of cute girls around he could play grab ass with.
Yeah, that's how it always works. You know?
I mean, yeah, that's how you're supposed to do it, Davis. I mean, you're doing cult wrong.
Where do you think like Islam came from? Muhammad wanted to have a whole bunch of wives, including one that was prepubescent.
Somebody in the Stephen Williams of Steve's Jerky says in the chat, did Arini seriously say that shit to Luke? That's the end of my respect for him. If so, yes, he did. And that was actually the moment where I decided the gloves were off. That I wasn't, because I showed a lot of restraint for a lot of time there. I kept trying to avoid the subject. I kept trying to say, no, let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it. And then I saw that shit with how he responded to Luke, and I'm like, fucking hey. Like, that's just the end of it.
Go fuck yourself, basically. You know, and that was a kill a lot of respect I had for Davis, because again, it was so gratuitous. It revealed his character or lack thereof, if that he would be so nasty to someone he considered a friend over something very mild.
Again, what floored me is it was Luke. You know, it wasn't me. He didn't come at me with that shit. He came at Luke with that shit. Luke's a fucking puppy dog. Luke's a sweetheart.
Well, it's like you'd have to, it'd be one thing if he was talking like to someone who like seriously hurt him or tried to like, sabotage and stuff. All Luke did was post a video kind of poking fun at Davis and telling him like, hey, dude, knock it off. And Davis reacts in such a petty and vindictive manner.
Yeah. Nostalgia Wounds in the chat. He says, mostly girls are into the occult. They love the idea of knowledge without study, skill without work.
Well, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of what this pagan stuff, concern, this occult stuff is. It's how you can get something for nothing. It's like it literally goes back to like Faustian, sell your soul for power and glory and wealth. If you look into the works of Aleister Crowley, it's the same thing. The levels of sex magic. Getting fucked up the ass gives you satanic power. Having sex with black people gives you satanic power. It's all about like, how can I get the maximum amount of effort for the minimum amount of work, which is something I guess we all are looking forward to trying to do to a certain extent, which is why a lot of these ideas have a lot of appeal to some people. But the reality is there's no such thing. There's no such thing as easy riches. And even if you think you've stumbled across something like that, well, you end up paying the price in one way or another. Faust had to pay for it 24 years after when Mephisto decided to claim his soul. Davis is paying for it right now in having his online reputation obliterated. All of his friends gone and making fun of him after he cut them off. And he has to keep company now with a toothless hick and a crazy cat lady.
Yeah, that's the old saying, easy money tends to go just as easy as it came. That's why so many people, when they win the lottery, they're not smart about it. They just go ahead and piss it all away, And
then like a year later, they're living in a trailer and hanging themselves with their shoelaces.
And that's just the problem with human nature, and that's it's part of why you gotta have an anchor in God, man. When something like that does come your way, you got to be humble enough to ask God, hey, help me not squander this opportunity.
Yeah, it's funny. We have Richard Bechtel in the chat, and he asks, "What would it take for you guys to forgive him?" I can't think of it. I'm not gonna dredge this up, but I recall before Davis sent those messages to Luke, he was attacking both Luke and Richard Bechtel in Skype conversations with me. So this has been percolating for a while now.
Wait, I'm sorry. I was reading the chat. I didn't catch it. Sorry, I was reading something in the chat. What did you say? He was attacking who?
Richard Bechtloff was in the chat. He's one of Luke's friends, and I know Richard too. He's a good guy. Davis,
yeah, I've talked to him too.
Yeah, David Davis was attacking him. He was attacking Luke. Claiming that Luke, like he tried to imply that Luke was like some kind of loser because I don't know, like I forgot what he said exactly, but it was pretty nasty stuff. This was the day that he decided to disavow all of you in that live stream back in August, and I was like trying to talk to Davis, like, dude, like, don't do this. Don't end a 4-year friendship over this. And the funny thing was, like, when like Davis seemed like he was like sort of agreeing with me, but then like an hour later he decides to go and do the live stream anyway.
Nostalgia Wound was in the chat there. He says, I would like you guys to know I've been playing online poker while listening to this. I guess I'm qualified to start my own civilization.
Yeah, Richard. Yeah, Richard's asking. He was attacking. Yeah, he was attacking me. I haven't talked to him since July of last year. Yeah, he was attacking you. He called you a loser and a bunch of other stuff.
As for the question, what would it take to forgive him? I mean, it just knock it off, dude. Like, look, I know I'm really, really hard on him, but you know what? I am like that preacher that knows, you know what? I'm a shitbag too. I am a shitbag too. All right. I have a laundry list of sins. Trust me, if it weren't for my faith, I'd be a Cenobite by now. All right. I'm a degenerate motherfucker at my core. And I'm not I'm not gonna sit here and be like, whoa, I never. No, fuck it. If you just knock it off. Just knock it off. That's it.
Well, as for forgiving him, well, he hasn't really done anything against me aside from unilaterally ending our friendship for the crime of me shitposting on one of your streams. So I don't really consider him as having wronged me. So I really don't have anything to forgive him for. But if he were to, acknowledge all of this and acknowledge that he was wrong to join the Free Folk and, cast us all out into the outer darkness, like, I consider the matter closed.
All right, Common Filth here. He's talking about civilization is an aggregate of good decisions. It can't be done from on high. It sort of reminds me because we were talking about, I don't know who was on that stream with me, but I was talking about the how the alt-right kind of squandered its political momentum after 2016. And look, they didn't have, they weren't the force behind Trump, but yes, they were a force. And they squandered that political momentum. They didn't, they thought God Emperor Trump was going to hand them everything they wanted. They wasted all that time with goon rallies and fucking their mother-in-laws and stuff. And it sort of reminds me, it sort of parallels the religious right in the late 70s, early 80s. They rose to power in the late 70s, and they were a major factor in getting Reagan elected. Now, they weren't the only factor. They weren't even the biggest factor, but they were a considerable factor. And they thought, okay, Reagan's elected. He's just going to give us everything we want. And they quickly became disillusioned with the fact that, well, no, he's not. Because really, the sort of change they wanted, that doesn't come from the top down. Yes, it's important to get something, something preferable to your desires at the top, but that's not the most important thing. And that's when the religious right got pretty good throughout the 80s and into the 90s and working into the local levels. They wormed their way into every school board they could. They got into like local, city councils, and they formed a grassroots movement. And long term, they didn't have a great deal of success because they sort of sold their soul to W. But that's how you affect change. You want to quote unquote save the West. Well, first of all, get your shit in order yourself. Second of all, if you want to get involved politically, you're best doing it at the local level. Run for school board or city council or some shit like that. Or, form a cult and then think that'll fix everything.
As like Common Filth pointed out in the chat that civilization is an aggregate of good decisions. You can't enforce it from high up. That's why all these intentional communities always fail. Whether it's the neo-reactionary commune that Inismov wanted to do, or the free folk, or the wolves of Vinland, or intentional communities are always a bad idea because the people who form them have no organic links beyond the fact that they agree in like an ideal. But that's not enough. Political agreement is not enough to form a community. I mean, just look at how the alt-right has continued to implode and then implode again, like a fucking like an infinite fucking a star that keeps like going supernova again and again and again, just wiping out everything magically. Because again, the only thing that unifies the alt-right sectors of the right is like, oh yeah, I'm white and being white is awesome. That's not enough. That's not enough. Communities that last tend to be built around something that is more substantive than, oh, we agree politically, or oh, we're all white and we think that's awesome. They're usually built on bonds of family, bonds of shared continuity, ethnic continuity, and not just being white, but also like having a specific roots, religiosity, being a member of the same church. When you attempt to create a civilization top down through some kind of shared ideology, that's not enough. And we've seen that repeatedly fail over and over again with these crackpot ideas.
It's honestly hard enough if you're doing it within like a church or religious kind of thing. But that barely works. And that's, that's it. Like, anything else, yeah, I love small government too, but, the fact that you and I both agree that taxes should probably be a bit lower doesn't make us brothers.
So in other words, saving the West is actually hard work.
Yeah. How about that?
By the way, Richard Bechtel wants to come on. Should I fire him a link?
I told him I might bring in callers in a bit.
Okay.
All right. So, moving on, let's talk about Gillette razors a little bit, shall we? Seems like a bit of an odd topic, huh? But yes, let us talk about Gillette razors.
We must talk about razor blades.
So let's, Luke, can you bring up the commercial? Because I have yet to even see it. They uploaded a couple of times on the Gillette channel, but let's maybe this will get us fucking struck. Who knows? But damn it, I declare fair use. They copyright strike this shit. I will fight it. You can take me to fucking court, Gillette.
Yeah, the hardest thing is actually finding one that's not on commentary mode. Ah, there it is. Let's see if I can get it on screen here.
Yeah, there's an actual one from Gillette. I mean, I think they uploaded it like twice because they were trying to avoid all the downvotes or some shit. They're like a 90% downvote rating on both of the fucking uploads. And like I said, I have yet to even watch it. So let's roll this beautiful bean footage. Let's learn about how we're all full of toxic masculinity. No. Okay, yeah, I was going to say try and find the actual one on Gillette. Yeah, because that's going to be commentary. Hang on, let me find it. I brought it up earlier because I wanted to comment on it. So let me find the actual thing if I can.
Who the fuck is that? Who is that twink in the fucking commercial?
I don't know.
Looks like something that was grown in a vat.
Okay, here, I'll throw it in the chat here. Because I don't want to get like I don't want to like play someone else's commentary on it.
It's a fucking ghoul that was grown in a Tailaxu flesh vat.
Where are you? There it is.
All right, yeah. Let's roll this beautiful bean footage.
My computer decided to glitch on me right when I logged on, so I'll be with you in just a second.
That's fine. That's fine. It's probably just all those hexes that have been put on us.
There we go.
I mean, I've got a whole pagan cult working around the clock to put fucking hexes on me.
Notice anything different?
No.
All right.
It's all right to me.
And All right. Okay, now we're in business.
All right. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Like I said, I haven't even seen this yet. Is the sound on?
Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, I can't really hear anything.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual
Toxic
harassment.
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says he's telling lies.
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie.
Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool. Not cool.
Some already are. In ways big
Yo, men. Oh, shit.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay?
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
Well, that was pretty fucking gay.
Oh, that's just like every other stupid paused advertisement. What was the point?
Men are bad.
The point is to remind everyone that our enemies control these companies. We're going to keep buying their products. There's nothing we can do. And they're going to rub it in our faces. There's all this talk about boycott and shit. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not. No one cares.
Well, the problem is, yeah, you could boycott it. And for once, this is actually something that, I mean, you know, that I guess right-wingers, people, or whatever you want to call them, actually use. But then there's not a lot of places you can go. I mean, you go to the grocery store and it's like, okay, I don't buy Gillette razors, but then I'll buy some other brand and it'll turn out to be owned by fucking Procter and Gamble too. You know, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to buy a Gillette razor anymore, you know, and I would advise no one else should unless, you know, you intend to use it to shave your girl's vagina for her date with Tyrone. But other than that, I don't think there's a very good use for Gillette razors. What else are you going to do? I mean, I guess you could go like, you know, the high end route of like, I saw somebody on Gab share like this, you know, high end shave, like all natural shave butter and like quality razor you can get. But the problem is, I don't even know where the fuck to get half that shit. I don't know. Maybe you could go to Dollar Shave Club. Maybe they're not owned by the fucking devil. But, you know, for the most part,
yeah,
try to choke the money out of the beast as best you can. But at the same time, guys, like, you're not going to be able to totally do it.
the number of people who are going to boycott is not enough. It won't even be a rounding error in Gillette's overall money. And they could do this because the majority of the population is either on board with this ideology or they don't care. They're apathetic. White Wolf brings up a good comment in the chat. Chat. He says that, did you notice in the article, in the video, all the good men are black men and they're all trying to stop white men from approaching white women?
Yeah, I did notice that.
Gotta love the dislike ratio, though.
Yeah, and you know, I love that the two kids are just beating the shit out of each other on the lawn like that, and everybody's just like, yeah, whatever. Like that doesn't happen. Like, okay, yeah, kids wrestle, and you're not gonna break that up. But this is clearly one child beating the piss out of another child. Look, he's like choking him and shit, and it's like, yeah, the parents would just be like, that's fine. That's fine. Let the kid choke the other. We only have to pay for one college fund.
A whole line of men too.
That's a fucking yard I want to go to. That is a lot of awesome shit getting grilled right there. I bet you they got everything. I bet you there's burgers, hot dogs, steak, chicken, whole 9 yards out there, man. That's a fucking party you need to go to right there. Look at that. I'm getting hungry just looking at that shit.
And Anka Spirit's in it too.
Oh, the wicked bitch of the West. Right there she is.
Oh, what else do we have in here?
Nothing makes me want to buy some razors quite like denying the Armenian genocide.
Sexy.
I don't recognize anybody else in that. I think they're just actors.
Yeah.
I think the rest of that is literal fake news. Oh boy, I sure am glad that Gillette got their new spokesman, Anna, whatever the fuck her name is.
Again, this is just like a victory round for the people who run corporations and the people who the powers that be. They know that they can do this shit, and nobody is going to change a thing. Nobody's going to boycott them. It's not going to hurt their profit margins. I think it was Dan Allison who said, or someone in the chat said, like, if we don't put a stop to this now, all the other companies are going to be dumping this shit. Well, they're going to dump it anyway because they don't care.
They're all doing it, and they don't care. They don't even care about making money. That's the thing.
This is not about profit. This is about they're triumphantly. They've defeated us, and they're lording it over us. They're talking about we're not in charge anymore. We being straight white males or whoever they view as their enemies. Like the people who are, we're the enemy. Okay, we've lost. They've won. They're going to lord it over us. That's what this is.
Let me find that Gab. I want to bring this up because I got to look into this myself too. Because like I said, I don't know where the fuck to buy like better high end fucking shaving shit. Like I literally wouldn't even know where the fuck to go to look for that crap. Let me bring this up. Here, Luke. Bring up this Gab post. There's this it's from Neon Revolt over on Gab. And he says, I talked a bit about the Gillette controversy yesterday, but it's a bit more beneficial, I think, for people to see the actual tools you can use instead. So this is my current wet shave kit. Had it for years. Even wore the lacquer off the brush handle. It gives it character, I think. These are the basics, all you really need. A word about shave soaps. A lot of stuff in conventional market is absolute crap. It's littered with hormone-disrupting parabens and SLSs and all kinds of fake crap that's contributing to your man boobs. They're really industrial petrochemical products that you're putting on your face every day. Much, much better alternatives exist. And with the tried and true ingredients like coconut oil, shea butter, essential oils, etc., none of the isomer crap that's been stored in toxic 50-gallon drums inside some petrochemical warehouse for weeks on end. Also, some Globo Homo Megacorp can shave a percentage of a penny off their supply chain processes. Seriously, there's never been a better time to switch. It's not hard to do either. You're not going to take your face off if you're smart, aware, cautious, at least until you get a real feel for it. Yeah, I got to look into shit like this, but honestly, I don't even know where the hell to find that crap.
I know there was one of those that sites that used to advertise on Return of Kings. I might look them up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like Dollar Shave Club even. You know, maybe they're not owned by the devil. Who knows?
Oh, a shaving brush. How old-fashioned. You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of like the old Burma Shave commercials, like the ones that ridiculed shaving brushes and those little signs that became a famous landmark in the 40s and 50s. The little poems they put up all around the country.
Yeah. I don't know. I got to look into something better for that kind of stuff. I got to find the proper razor to shave my balls. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? That's terrible. Anyways, speaking of which, that's a great segue to our sponsor. Actually, it's a terrible segue to our sponsor. Our sponsor tonight is Steve's Jerky. which I assure you has nothing to do with shaved balls. It's all about jerky, which I believe will actually make your balls grow bigger, possibly hairier. I can't confirm that because I shaved mine. But anyways, this is the worst ad he could possibly hope for. Steve's Jerky. Seriously, it's fantastic. Get you some Steve's Jerky, folks. It's great stuff. I am very picky when it comes to jerky, and I adore Steve's Jerky. 5-ounce bags, $10. I think the shipping is something like $3 or $4. I don't have it in front of me. But if you get 3 bags, shipping's free. So there you go.
Yeah, definitely. I really recommend Steve's Jerky as well. And also, thanks to Steve for he will be advertising on the Matt Forney Live starting tomorrow. Well, actually, I guess today, because my next stream will be at 10 p.m. Eastern Wednesday. Go check that out. But yeah, thank you very much to Steve for his continued support of the Bechtloff program, Steve, and my program. And get you some Steve's Jerky at facebook.com/Steve's Jerky. I've been spamming the link in the chat, so all of you are without excuse.
And also down below, you'll see the tip jar where you can send a one-time donation of any amount via PayPal. You can become a regular supporter via Patreon of any amount. And there's the Amazon wish list where you can buy me some of the dumb shit that I like. And yeah, so check that out. And like I said, even $1 on PayPal is fine. That's outstanding because, if everybody who watches this video sent me $1, well, that would be pretty fucking nice, wouldn't it? So don't think, oh, it's nothing, whatever. Small gifts are fine. Now, granted, if one of you wants to give me $1,000 or $1 million or something, I'm certainly not going to turn it down. But you don't have to break your budget to help support the alternative media you like. Giving $1 a month or $1 here and there on PayPal or something, the little things add up, folks. So
yeah, they really do, guys. Particularly now with deplatforming and demonetization and algorithm fucking all around the place. It's really important now.
Yeah, I went ahead and applied for my monetization again, so I can get the super chats back. But I really don't think that I'm getting that back. That was probably literally a waste of time.
You don't know the way. Yes, do you know the way?
And that way is beef jerky.
Nostalgia Moon says in the chat, boycotts aren't going to do anything. What will do something is if people start disrupting the supply chains of these corporations, which is, I'm going to preface this by saying that I do not endorse or support violence, and neither does the Bechtloff program. This is all purely hypothetical. But let's take Amazon as an example. Now, Amazon is widely disliked on both the left and the right for how they strongly arm local governments into giving them concessions, tax breaks. The company enforces pause. The company has started deplatforming people. They banned Rush's book. They banned all kinds of books. They banned me from their affiliate program. While they have worked to steadily choke out local small businesses through their massively scaled operations. Now, what would happen if people start breaking into Amazon warehouses after hours and setting them on fire? I'm sure that would send a message to Jeff Bezos very, very quickly. Now, I like to reiterate, I do not endorse or support this behavior, and neither does the Bechtloff podcast. But I can imagine this hypothetical world where Amazon warehouses are being set on fire, that Amazon would change their tune very quickly.
So Antifa could actually do something useful then.
I mean, look at the Yellow Vest protests in France, which are still going on despite the media's attempts to cover them up. The French establishment is scared shitless of the Yellow Vests. The European, the Euro Homo, Globo Homo establishment is scared shitless of the Yellow Vests. Because you know what the Yellow Vest is? It's not ideological. It's left, right, and in between. We're all pissed off at the way the government has been abusing and neglecting them for decades. And they're not going away. They're actually fucking fighting and getting into battles with the police and winning. That shit is what terrifies the people in charge. When everyone decides that, oh yeah, let's stop this identity politics bullshit for a little bit, and realize, oh yeah, we're getting fucked over. There's more of us than there are of them. Let's go make some heads roll.
Well, I've often said that any leader in any system of government, be it a king, be it a president, be it some sort of president for life situation, dictator, whatever. They ultimately exist because at least a sizable chunk of the people support it or are complacent in it. I mean, none of these leaders are General Zod. Okay, they're all just men. And they're every bit as vulnerable to the physical realities as anybody else. One thing I will say, and this, you got to understand something, folks. This breaks my heart to say this. This breaks my fucking heart to say this. If I was advising Trump right now, I'd tell him you need to push for a much higher tax rate on the very rich. And I fucking hate saying that. I hate that. First of all, it feels un-American to even have. I don't even like the fact that we have different tax rates for different earners. I despise that. Everybody should be taxed the same percentage on their money. And, you hear the left one, well, the rich won't pay their fair share. Bullshit. What's 3% of $1 million is more than 3% of $100, isn't it? Obviously, the people making more money under a flat tax would be paying more money. That said, though, fuck all that. Because the very, very rich are monsters right now. They are monsters. Our billionaires, our elite, whatever you want to call them, they are monsters. And I'm perfectly happy to fuck them. To fuck them royally. And you know what? You can even get a few of the idiot Democrats on your side doing that. You might be able to get that communist with the horse teeth and the crazy eyes on your to support that bill if you proposed it.
Yes, fuck them. Fuck the government. Fuck the ultra rich. All they do is fucking screw of us, steal our money, and pause our kids. Fuck them. Take every last penny they have. Burn their fucking mansions. Strip them of their fucking clothing. Do to them what happened in the Dark Knight Rises when the Bane's fucking army is stealing all their wealth and kicking the rich people out in the street and dragging them out and throwing them off of fucking bridges. Fuck the ultra rich.
Yeah, I don't like saying, trust me, the last thing I'm naturally inclined to say is let's raise some taxes. Okay. Those words I choke on those words. I despise saying that so much. But hey, whatever. And the other thing is, part of the reason these corporations ended up drifting so fucking far left is the nature of how the right and the left governs. You see, when the right gets into power, it doesn't punish its political enemies because, God-fearing K-types tend to be magnanimous motherfuckers. When the left gets into power, it punishes its political enemies. So the corporations have nothing to fear from the right. Well, it's about time they did.
The rich! The oppressors of generations who have kept you down with myths of opportunity, and we give it back to you, the people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm never one to say that this blame the rich. I don't fault anyone for being rich. I'm happy you're rich. All right, but I'm tired of you poisoning everybody. I'm tired of you poisoning everything. I'm tired of you ripping it the fuck down. I'm not mad that Gillette Razors makes a lot of money selling razors because I need to shave my fucking face, so I buy their razors and they make the money off the razors. If it was just that, I'd love it. But no, instead, you want to fucking insult me. Instead, you want to tear down masculinity. You want to tear down the very thing that makes civilization fucking possible.
Yeah, Waffle says in the chat, the rich will probably leave the U.S. before that happens. Good thing America has the reach and the power to find them and bring them to justice. Yeah, like if you're an American citizen abroad, for example, You can't open a bank account and do banking in another country unrelated to the business of the U.S. without getting it double-checked with the IRS first. I went and opened a few days ago, I opened a bank account here in Georgia so I could, have a local bank account and not have to deal with bullshit from my main American bank. And even though I'm in a foreign country conducting business in that country that has nothing to do with the U.S., the first thing I have to do when I sign up for this bank account, and the bank makes me do it, is fill out an IRS W-9 form. If people like me can be tracked, our financial activities can be tracked for living abroad, you can track people who've got like $6 billion or $7 billion. It's not hard. The only thing that's missing is the political will. Like, if they want to hide their shit in the Cayman Islands or whatnot, we just say to the government of the Cayman Islands, okay, either you turn over the bank information for all of your wealthy tax haven cheat clients, or we just bomb your fucking little island into oblivion. Not that big either. Probably take just a few rockets.
Yeah, and like I said, I hate the idea of all this shit. But you know what? Y'all motherfuckers made it necessary. We've come a long way from the rich men of 100 years ago. We fucked the rich men of 150 years ago that basically built the country. We fucked them over pretty bad over some pretty minor shit compared to what the rich fucks get away with now. Okay? Yeah, you know what? The Henry Fords and the Walt Disneys of the world and the fucking Carnegies of the world and whatnot, yeah, they did some stuff they maybe shouldn't have. But all in all, they left the world a better place than they found it. That ain't true of the Jeff Bezos and the Mark Zuckerbergs and the George Soroses of the world, is it?
Yeah, it's like, the billionaires, the wealthy people of our age are not like industrialists and inventors and people who created great shit. No, it's fucking financial parasites like George Soros, or what the hell has Jeff Bezos done? Oh, he built a web company that basically subsists off of tax subsidies and whatnot. Because here's a fun fact to you. Amazon has never turned a profit in its entire history. It survives because Jeff Bezos is continuously able to get tax breaks to allow his company to cheat the system repeatedly. What they did in New York City and Arlington, Virginia recently. He bought up the Washington Post precisely so he could have a major news organization to argue for the deregulation he needs to keep Amazon solvent. Google does not make a profit outside of AdWords. All of its initiatives, including YouTube, are money losers. Which companies
is funny because recently YouTube had a chance to be profitable and it pissed it away.
Yeah, Facebook is losing money. Twitter is losing money. If it wasn't for constant, financialization and abuse of the system, none of these corporations would be solvent. Yeah. And they produce nothing. Okay, what's the value of like the Model T versus like the value of Facebook? There is no value. It's nothing. It's nothing. You can make
Facebook I'll fight you on that just a touch. Facebook and Twitter would have value if they were the things they're meant to be. If Facebook wouldn't put you in fucking Facebook jail because you said cunt, and if Twitter wouldn't ban you for being to the right of Karl Marx, then I would say those things would have tremendous value if they were truly the town squares that they are meant to be.
And not social experiments that they currently are.
The reality of what they are, no, they have, a negative value. Hell, even fucking Bill Gates. I mean, even Bill Gates did more for the world than these current crop. And Bill Gates was a shitbag.
Yes.
Yeah, fucking scumbags, man. The whole lot of them. Yeah, the amount of shit that the government gave billionaires, or not billionaires, back then millionaires, because, money was still worth something. The amount of shit they gave, men that really just built this country. Now, yeah, maybe they were up to some shit they shouldn't have been. I'm not saying there shouldn't have been oversight of them. But the amount of shit that was given to men like that, even coming into the 20th century, the amount of shit even a guy like Henry Ford got from the government, or Howard Hughes got from the government. And then a guy like Mark Zuckerberg's just allowed to do whatever the fuck he wants.
That's actually pretty funny because the man I have a screen here, this is Rockefeller, and his entire story was running a business against a government-subsidized steamboat company and always winning. And them always go, please give us more money. We need to keep our competition going with Rockefeller. No, with Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Again, hardly perfect men. And yeah, they were probably doing a little bit of shit they shouldn't have been doing. But by and large, they left the world a better place than they found it. By and large, those were men that built this country. Even coming into the 20th century, like Henry Ford, or hell, let's be a little less tangible. Walt Disney, the art that Walt Disney produced.
I agree to that.
True art coming out of Disney well into the 90s. That company kept that man's spirit.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a long way from where they are, from where everything is now.
Look at this stuff. This is a prerogative of Walt Disney's perfectionism.
Yeah. Look at that. That cartoon came out in the when did that come? When was that? The 30s or the 40s? I can't remember when Pinocchio was. That shit still looks good. And then you compare it to
Steven Universe.
The visuals in Frozen are already starting to look a little dated. Yeah, and then compare it to shit like Steven Universe or virtually anything on TV right now. That shit still looks gorgeous.
Or if you want to make a comparable comparison, just make them compared to anything Hanna-Barbera made, because those shows are made for cheapness and efficiency.
Oh yeah. Look at shitty ass animation like Scooby-Doo, the original Scooby-Doo. I would still. Everybody shits on Hanna-Barbera for its cheap animation, stuff like the Flintstones and Scooby-Doo. I'd take any of that over 90% of what's on Cartoon Network right now.
How is that cheap? I always thought it looked pretty good. I mean, Hanna-Barbera did do an expensive, animation suite with Johnny Quest, but the show that show only lasted for one season, despite its popularity, because it was too expensive to animate, because it was just too finely detailed and realistic.
Oh, Scooby-Doo used to cut corners like you wouldn't believe, and the Flintstones did too. But the thing about it is it cut corners in very creative ways. It cut corners in ways that only animation nerds and dorks on YouTube that pick it apart. Like, it's the kind of stuff that once you see, you can't unsee it. But it's like,
you're not going to notice it on a casual.
Yeah, when you're just watching it as a kid, it looks fucking great. I loved Scooby-Doo when I was a kid. Scooby-Doo was awesome. Like that Scooby-Doo could do no wrong for me. That cartoon was awesome. But
yeah, that is a good point, and I brought up Johnny Quest as well. The original Johnny Quest looks really good with the finely detailed art. If you remember the reboot they did in the 90s, the Ultimate Adventure of Johnny Quest or whatever, that looks like shit. Well, the parts that are traditionally animated aren't too bad, but the Quest World segments just look horrible.
Oh, the CG looks terrible. Disney's been doing all these live action reboots of their fucking animated movies. You know what they should do? They should take the fucking Pixar movies and just keep the sound exactly the same. Don't rehire the voice actors or anything like that. Just reanimate it from the ground up with modern fidelity. Because as amazing as Pixar's animation was, it's just the nature of 3D animation. Like, Toy Story's already looking pretty fucking dated.
Yeah, and I think 3D animation is massively overrated. It was an interesting novelty back when there were two companies doing it, Pixar What's the one that did Ants?
DreamWorks.
Yeah, Pixar and DreamWorks. When they were the only two people doing CGI, it was novel. It was interesting. Now everyone fucking does it.
The 2D animation out too much. Like, it's not bad. It's just, like I said, and it doesn't age well. It just the nature of anything cutting edge is not going to age well.
Well, I mean, you see the same thing in live action films as well. I mean, CGI, I think, was one of the worst things that happened to the movie industry because it made doing stuff like all these big special like just too damn easy. And as a result, if you compare like sci-fi or action movies from like the 80s and back to like modern stuff, the modern stuff lacks character. Like, what was the most influential movie in terms of visual design to the point where movies are still copying nearly 40 years after it came out was Blade Runner. Blade Runner came out in 1982, and Blade Runner had no CGI at all. Those shots of the futuristic LA, and I just was reminded that Blade Runner is actually set in the year 2019. Those were all made with miniatures. Okay, all the visual effects in the movie were made using miniatures and practical effects.
The two best examples of CGI I can think of off the top of my head are Jurassic Park and Spider-Man 2. And what those two things have in common, like in Spider-Man 2, anytime you see only part of one of Doc Ock's tentacles, that is all puppetry. That is all animatronics, all puppetry. If you see the entirety of it, kind of, then it's CGI. But most of the time when you see the entirety of it, obviously the screen is kind of panned out. And it's like some big epic fight of Spider-Man and Doc Ock or some shit like that. So you're not going to notice the flaws in CGI when it's panned out like that anyways. But whenever it was up close and you were only seeing part of the tentacle, it was all animatronics. And indeed, it was a different puppeteer working each one of the tentacles, which, in the movie, they all had a little limited AI. So it actually gave each one a bit of a distinct personality, if you really paid attention to the movements and the interactions with the actor. Again, Jurassic Park, same thing. Anytime in Jurassic Park you see part of a dinosaur, that's a puppet. That's animatronics. If you see the whole dinosaur, that's CGI. That's how you do it. I heard a movie maker describe CGI once as best used to, and he was using it as a broad term, erase the strings. In the old space movies, you could kind of see the string holding the fucking flying saucer or the Starship Enterprise up. Well, if you just take some CGI and erase the strings, that's the best use for it. Using CGI when you have to and using CGI to maybe clean things up a bit is the best use for it. It's fantastic then. But if it just becomes this big fucking, nothing but an actor in front of a green screen, then it might look great at the time, but it's going to it gets dated really fast most of the time.
I mean, yeah, you can see this in the comparison between the old Star Wars movies and the new ones. The old Star Wars movies done with practical effects. They still look really good. And I'm talking about the originals, not the bullshit special editions with all that CGI crap added in. Compare, like, say, Mos Eisley or the Death Star in the first Star Wars movie to, like, the scenes of, like, the Senate or Naboo in Episode 1. Episode 1, it's too clean. It's too nice looking. And you can tell that the characters are working against a green screen because their mobility is very limited. They're mobile because they can't move around because they're hemmed in a narrow hallway and they're surrounded by green screens and they can't actually interact with the environment.
Yeah, it's just like what why does Yoda look like he's really there in the original trilogy? Because he really was. There was an actual physical thing there.
Yeah, in Lucas's defense, in Episode 1, Yoda was a puppet, but then with the fucking special editions of that movie, they replaced the puppet with a CGI thing that is not only less realistic looking, but also less expressive.
And ultimately, though, CGI is like any other tool. It has its place, but when you abuse it, then bad shit happens. Like I said, there's movies I can think of where CGI has been used beautifully. And every once in a while, I really enjoy CGI cartoons. You know what's a really good computer animated cartoon that never gets enough credit? There was a movie called Nine, like the number 9, and it was these little like robot rag dolls that existed in this post-apocalyptic world. Like it was this alternate world where like World War I had destroyed all the life, and these little robot rag dolls were the only things living. Really, really gorgeous cartoon, really well done. Never gets enough credit, man. Never. Nobody ever talks about this movie. Like, for good or ill. I never hear people like, oh, this movie sucked, and I never hear people praising it. But even it, I mean, it looks a little dated. You know, that's the problem with a lot of this computer animated stuff.
And the problem with CGI movies, we were always watching them, and I thinking to myself, watching the older ones, okay, at what point of technological development were we at when this came out? Because you notice it every single movie that comes out.
You know what other one I like that everyone shits on is the Final Fantasy movie, The Spirits Within. And I know that has nothing to do with Final Fantasy, and that's why everyone hated it. But I don't give a shit about Final Fantasy, so I just kind of watched it as its own thing. I really like that movie. It's funny too because a lot of people praised the Polar Express as being this technologically innovative thing when it came out, and I remember like seeing the commercials for it. I'm like, it doesn't look any better than Final Fantasy Spirits Within, which came out like 2-3 years prior.
The Polar Express was creepy looking.
Yeah, plus that movie just sucked. It's just complete. I don't know, complete like just saccharine. Yeah, the Final Fantasy Spirits Within movie is pretty good though. Again, though, I can understand if you're a fan of the games being mad that it has nothing to do with them. You know, if they'd have just called that movie The Spirits Within, it probably would have been better received.
Well, it having nothing to do with the games is a good thing because the Final Fantasy games are shit. Yes, fight me on that.
I agree. I'm not going to fight you on that. I agree. The only Final Fantasy game I ever liked was Tactics. I enjoyed Tactics.
I never played Tactics. I played 7 and 8. 7 is crap. It is massively overrated. And 8 is a little better, but not by much.
Well, 7 is when it went from being like this medieval thing into just becoming like complete weeb shit.
Yeah. I don't care for the art styles, like all this anime, like big googly eyes, etc., whatever. 8 I kind of preferred because it had a more realistic art style, but the plots are still equally retarded and juvenile. And I don't care for this like Japanese preteen angst, like we have to go save the world bullshit. It's dumb.
I liked Tactics, but that had that still, even though it was on the PS1, it still had kind of a pixel art vibe to it. I don't know these motion capture CGI movies too. It's like, again, it's a tool I think has use, but by and large, I don't see the point of making a movie out of it. I think motion capture is best when you're having an actor portray kind of a non-human character. You know what I mean? Like the dragon in the Hobbit movies, for example. Now, I kind of think that those movies sucked because the Hobbit doesn't need to be 9 hours fucking long. But what was really cool about it is, like, when you saw the dragon's face, even though it's an inhuman face, it's a dragon face, you could still kind of see the mannerisms of the actor because they put motion capture on him and translated it into this other kind of face. The apes in the new Planet of the Apes movies were animated in a similar way. The Gollum in Lord of the Rings was animated like that, where you can still get the actors emoting through this non-human kind of face. That's how they did the Hulk's face in the Marvel movies. The Avengers movies. They had Mark Ruffalo actually act the Hulk's facial expressions. But making a whole movie out of it, like, come on, what's the point? Why don't you just have the actors there? Like, is there any reason Polar Express couldn't have been live action?
Not really, no. Oh, here's some good use of motion capture here.
Oh yeah, they animate the facial expressions in Bebop and Rocksteady. You know, I like that movie. The what was it called? Out of the Shadows, Ninja Turtles 2. I like that movie.
Well, Bebop and Rocksteady actually made it work because everything else is just the same Michael Bay trying to work on a franchise he doesn't care about.
Yeah, I still don't like how the turtles look in those movies. But I mean, it's a live action Turtles movie that had Krang, the Technodrome, Bebop, and Rocksteady. It had Casey Jones. Hell, it had Stephen Amell as Casey Jones. I even liked Tyler Perry as Baxter Stockman. He was even getting it done. Like, I can understand why people wouldn't like that movie, but there's just a lot to like about it. So it's one of those things where, yeah, it's pretty flawed, but at times, but at the same time, there's just those certain moments where I'm like, I can't stay mad at you, movie.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a silly action movie from the 90s.
You know, like it's Bebop and Rocksteady in there. I never thought I'd see live action Bebop and Rocksteady. And I know it would have been better if it was maybe a little bit more practical effects. Because I still contend the Turtles from the 80s live action movie look better than the CGI shit. But I don't know, man. It probably would have cost a fucking fortune to make their faces look good in practical effects, but they didn't look bad. I enjoyed them.
And there's also limitations of certain practical effects, like the movie like there's the best contrast of the difference between the Thing and the reboot of the Thing. Like the original Thing was done with practical effects, and so certain action scenes had to be done at certain angles and certain times, whereas the CGI one, they just go crazy with the camera angles.
I still do like that. You know, I didn't even hate the first Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie. I didn't hate it, but then again, I never felt I was never on board with a lot of the hate the Transformers movies get. Like the first one, I think is full on not bad. The second one, yeah, it's kind of shitty, but it's got this really weird, like, visceral hatred from people that I honestly don't even understand.
They're only bad insofar as Michael Bay movies are bad, in the sense they go on and on and on, and they don't really do any much of anything.
Like, I remember Spoonie saying once, like, Transformers 2 is the worst movie I've ever seen. I'm like, nigga, this ain't even the worst movie you've reviewed. Oh, dude, I remember that. He's in a tank. And he fired. They're in a plane, right? And he shoots at this fucking like. And even like Bebop was like, "What the fuck, man?"
No, seriously. Yep, that's my bad. I got a little carried away.
Yeah, I just, it was moments like that where I'm like, I can't stay mad at you, movie. Their faces are fucking just, the turtles' faces are just fucking disturbing.
They're trying too hard to make them look too human. Like they're trying to transition over from live action to the fiction. The problem is the turtle characters are looking too human.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess if you wanted to, well, that might be what a big giant humanoid mutant turtle would look like. I'm like, yeah, but it's not, you know, doesn't mean I want to look at it.
Do you not remember the practical effects from the original Turtles? That they didn't look human at all, but they looked like they moved right.
Yeah, their faces didn't give you a nightmare. It's amazing how good that first Turtles movie is. I mean, they did not have a particularly high budget.
And it showed in certain corners, but yeah.
Speaking of which, Bechtloff, what do you think of the new Ghostbusters movie?
They didn't make a new Ghostbusters movie. What are you talking about?
Wait, there's a new one. They just announced. There's going to be a new one coming next year. But here's the thing: it's going to be set in the original universe. Like, it's not going to be part of the continuity of the reboot. the feminist Ghostbusters.
Well, I mean, that's kind of, if they were smart, that's how they would have done the reboot, quote unquote. They would have, like, if you'd have had that same cast in the reboot, and you'd have just done like Dan Aykroyd's the last Ghostbuster, and he sells the company to these girls because he's retiring. I mean, it probably would have still not been good, but it at least wouldn't have. It at least wouldn't have been guaranteed to suck right out of the gate.
Yeah. Here's the story. It says Ghostbusters Resurrected. Jason Reitman will direct a new film set in the original universe.
Well, the other thing is, I don't believe it until I see a teaser trailer, at the very least, because I'm a comic book fan, and I've gone through years of there's going to be such and such movie, and then it doesn't happen. Like, there was supposed to be a Ghost Rider film in 2000 by Dimension Films, and that never happened. Rob Liefeld has sold the rights to Youngblood to numerous studios, who then figured out they couldn't do anything with it, and the rights expired. So I don't believe a movie's really going to happen until I see a teaser trailer. I will say, though, we did get a Ghostbusters 3. It's Ghostbusters the video game. Well, I'm not kidding. Like, that video game story was written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. Everyone returns to reprise their fucking voice roles in that. As far as I'm concerned, that's Ghostbusters 3.
Fair enough. It says that filming on this new movie hasn't even started yet. It's going to start in over the summer, and the release date is summer 2020.
We'll see.
I'm not a fan of Jason Reitman, so I'm not really excited about this because Reitman, he directed Juno and he directed Up in the Air. Juno was horrible. Up in the Air was okay, I guess.
I've said numerous times, I'll say again, if you're a fan of Ghostbusters as I am, you should check out the IDW comic. It's fantastic. I went and read the entire first volume. There was a few miniseries after that, but I've now read all 9 volumes of the first series IDW did. So great stuff. Great stuff. There's just a bunch of little nods in it that I really enjoy. Like there's like a spirit guide that keeps appearing to Dan Aykroyd's character in his dreams, to Ray, and the spirit guide looks like John Belushi in Blues Brothers. Which is just a nice little nod to Dan Aykroyd that way. It's just little shit like that pops up here and there, and that I just adore. And it's really well written shit too.
Yeah, I already see. I took notice of this because it's trending on Twitter and because feminists are already upset about it because it's not the continuity of the original universe. These sexists don't want to give the reboot a second chance.
It's another thing that's funny about the IDW comic is just parallel universes have been a plot point in it. Actually, there's a crossover with the Ninja Turtles where Donatello is working on a teleporter and it accidentally sends them all to the Ghostbusters universe. And in an effort to send them back, that's how Egon discovers that both parallel universes exist and how to travel to them. Well, one of the universes he interacts with is the shitty reboot universe. Where it's 3 lesbians and a gorilla. And I don't think the writer would ever admit this, but he clearly hates the reboot shit because they are written like complete dirtbags. Like just unlikable shitbags the whole way. Which again is another reason I say you should read the Ghostbusters comic at IDW. Great stuff. All right, I'm going to bring in some callers, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. And I'll just...
Oh, I forgot to mention the guy who's directing the news to Ghostbusters. He also directed Thank You for Smoking, which I liked. So,
that'll be fun.
So maybe this one will be good. Who knows?
I don't know. I didn't really hate Juno. But then again, I wasn't sick of that shtick at the time, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't sick of what the hell, Michael Cera and Ellen
Michael
Page.
Cera.
Like, I'm sick of them now. Don't get me wrong. Like, if I went and rewatched it, maybe I'd think I would have a different opinion. But at the time, both of their shticks were kind of new to me, and it still had some charm in my eyes.
I didn't like it because it was such a bullshit feminist empowerment thing. Like, she somehow, like, she gets pregnant, but the guy she fucks isn't involved in any way, and he's like this nerd, and like she wants to get an abortion, but wimps out, and then that movie just filled me with so much contempt and rage.
What movie would this be?
Juno.
Oh, that fucking movie.
I kind of liked. I would have liked it if once the couple, like, she was going to give the kid to, broke up, but then she ends up giving the couple to the mom anyway, or the baby to the mom anyways. That's when I kind of checked out of it. That's when I'm like, okay, you had me, then you lost me. But I sort of like the the two things I really liked in it is and I'm not even that pro-lifer guy, but it was nice to see the pro-life message in it. Especially, it was just surprising to see it in a Hollywood thing. But also, it wasn't a pro-life message where she's like, well, I'm going to raise the kid as a single mom, and that's going to be fine. No, she knew, like, I'm obviously not equipped to raise this kid. I need to put it up for adoption. And I'm like, good. I wish more women thought like you. We didn't have this single mom thing. But then that's sort of ruined by the fact that she's like, okay, now I'm going to give it to a single mom. Like, well, damn it.
Yeah.
You had me, then you lost me. And
I really did not like that twist because it was just obviously this anti-male thing because
yes, exactly.
The main because like the character played by Jason Bateman, he's depicted as being like this man child that doesn't want to like grow up and have a baby and be mature and all this shit. It just seemed pointlessly hostile.
But I liked it up until that point. If they hadn't have given me that twist, I would probably still be defending that movie to this day. And I will say there was a few things in it that made me laugh because, like I said, I wasn't sick of those two main actors yet. You know what I mean? Their shtick still had some charm to me. Like, I remember one thing where, like, she's just sitting there with her, like, big pregnant belly and she's running like a Matchbox car across it, just going brrr. And I'm like, that was just kind of funny. It was just that kind of cute, goofy thing that,
I never seen this movie. Oh, the Juno
you're missing nothing.
Yeah, honestly,
I'm not going to sit here and say I recommend it.
If you want a better version of that type of movie, go see Superbad, which was released roughly around the same time. Superbad
still kind of holds up. I got to admit.
It does. It's actually a great coming of age story. I like
You know what had me dying?
Superbad wasn't the one I was thinking. I was thinking of Knocked Up. Knocked Up is still pretty good.
Knocked Up. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, the thing in Superbad that had me dying, there's a scene in there where the scene where the guy talks about how he used to draw dicks.
Oh yeah, that one.
But what really got me on that was what, like, so many of these movies like spoil every good joke in the fucking trailer, but that joke wasn't even hinted around to. You know what I mean? And I just remember, like, as he's going through that spiel, I'm just watching it like, like speechless kind of thing. Like, oh my God, like, this is just so fucking funny. And it's so funny in that, like, uncomfortable kind of way as he's describing it. And then they show, like, all the drawings of it and shit. And I'm like, that's fucking funny, man. Like, that really had me dying. That whole bit where he talks about how, like, the principal thought he had a dick demon and then he wasn't allowed to eat any dick-shaped foods. And he's like, and then he's like, you know how many foods are dick-shaped? All the best foods.
Jesus.
Like, oh man.
Yeah, but honestly, like, that was a great coming of age story. A great movie. I have been toying with wanting to see this movie, this Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I don't know if it's actually no.
I hate that movie.
Big veto.
And you know what? I got a bunch of buddies. I have buddies that, like, love that movie. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck movie you guys watch. Like, it's one of those movies that's so painfully unfunny. It's like, I don't even know where the jokes are supposed to be half the time.
Really?
Like, it's just, Luke, you've got to get yourself a fucking water shield if you're going to be underwater.
I start off underwater.
like I'm trying not to criticize your Sonic gameplay here, but damn it, you gotta get yourself a water shield.
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was such a bad movie that it killed Michael Cera's career. Because like before that movie, like he was still popular among women because like they thought he was like cute and charming and goofy. But the character he plays in Scott Pilgrim is so repulsive to women that it just completely destroyed his public image.
I hated that movie so much.
So essentially, he got typecast. Essentially, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, because the main character is such a creepy little weasel in Scott Pilgrim. I mean, the premise is about how he has to defeat his girlfriend's 7 evil exes in order to date her. So he's a
cuck, essentially.
Yeah, yes, he's fighting for. You got to fight for your right to get cucked. Basically, that's the plot.
The chick is so fucking hateful. I just can't stand that chick in it either. God, I hate everything about that movie. I it's got like that retro video game vibe through it and all that you would think like, oh, you'd think I'd be all about it because I love that shit. But I remember renting that movie, and like I rented it with a girlfriend at the time, right? And I remember like we had ordered a pizza when the movie started, and when we started watching the movie. So the pizza comes, we're like halfway through the movie. And we go upstairs, we eat. And we're just sort of sitting there, and she's like, now what do you want to do? I'm like, I guess we can go finish watching Scott Pilgrim. And she just looks at me and she goes, let's not. I was like, thank you. But yeah, she just looks at me like, let's not, though. How about that? So I didn't even finish watching it for the longest time. I finally finished watching it because my buddy that I used to run that comic stand with, for some reason, he really fucking likes that movie. And I don't get it. I still don't get it. And he played it up there a couple of times because we had like a little TV there where we'd play like random like goofy nerd movies or superhero cartoons or something like that. So he plays it up there, and that was the first time I actually managed to watch all of it. And I'm like, this is even worse than I remember. This is just terrible. This movie is bad, and everyone involved should feel bad.
Damn, that bad, huh? Superbad was good. What about that fucking? I'm thinking of a lot of fucking weird movies from the late 2000s.
Oh, you know what was good that had Michael Sierra in it or whatever?
Sierra.
He doesn't deserve me getting his name right. He was in a movie called This Is the End. And the premise of This Is the End is it was a bunch of comedians from those kind of movies, like Seth Rogen's in it, James Franco is in it, and they're playing themselves, right? And the premise of that movie is the rapture happens when all these Hollywood shitbags are at a party, right? And then they just have to deal with the fucking, end of the world, and there's demons everywhere and shit.
Oh, geez.
But like Mike, and it's done up for laughs, and it's actually pretty good. Michael Sierra is in it, and he actually plays himself, and he is a complete dirtbag, which actually made me kind of think maybe he's not as much of a scumbag as he looks if he's willing to, if he's willing to not take himself seriously like that. The chick that was in Harry Potter, Hermione or whatever, I don't remember, Emma Watson. She's in it, and she actually she steals all their shit. Like they're like hunkered in this in this house as there's all these demons outside, and she steals a bunch of their supplies and leaves.
Well, she's true to life. She's a succubi, so
it's kind of a fucking cool movie, man.
I have to take a look at that
it was actually it kind of gives you the impression those guys don't take themselves too seriously, which I sort of like. But yeah, I enjoyed it. This Is the End, it's called. It was a pretty solid flick.
I remember watching the second what the hell was it called? What was it? Kick-Ass. What are your thoughts on Kick-Ass, Bechtloff?
I like Kick-Ass. Yeah, I did see both of them. Yeah, I liked them both.
I didn't even know Jim Carrey was in it.
It's really weird. The Kick-Ass movie got announced and they started filming it before the comic had finished. Like the original miniseries that the first movie's based off of. It had not even all of them hadn't even come out yet. And they had already announced and had started filming that movie. I'd never seen like somebody sell the comic rights to something so fast.
Which is illustrated by the fact that the second one really goes off the rails.
Yeah, the second one's not as good, but it's still a decent flick. I mean, it's one of those movies where like I don't have a great deal of interest in seeing it again, but I'm not sad that I saw it. You know what I mean? I'm not like, oh, that movie sucked. It was okay. It's worth seeing, you know.
Oh, we have breaking news from Ian McDonald. Kirsten Gillibrand is going to be running for president.
Who the fuck is that?
She's the junior senator from New York.
Okay.
She was most famously the senator who championed mattress.
Who championed what? I'm sorry, you broke up for a second there.
Mattress Girl. You remember Mattress Girl?
Oh, yeah.
The one who brought her to the State of the Union. So Kirsten Gillibrand holds the distinction of having been the first politician to invite a porn star to a State of the Union address.
Oh, cool. Jesus Christ. Well, I thought Melania did some porn. I could be wrong about that.
Well,
she posed naked.
Okay. No. Mattress Girl was in a legit porno.
Yeah, it was in, getting fucked porno.
Yeah, I think
I don't consider just posing naked porn. That's why I allow naked pictures on my Discord.
Nice.
So if you feel the need to post your naked picture on there, go ahead. No, I'm just kidding. It's only redheads and hot chicks.
Right on. No weeaboo shit though, right?
I think some people have posted some like naked anime titties, but
we really need like some like the Benny Hill theme every time we talk about the Democratic presidential nomination. Just because it's just ridiculous now.
Yeah, and then
we've got Elizabeth Warren, we've got Tulsi Gabbard, we've got Julian Castro, we've got Kirsten Gillibrand now.
Lots of women, no men.
Well, Julian is a man. Well, he's a male at least.
Oh, I'm sorry. Crap. I forgot to send. I'm sorry, Richard. I forgot to send you the link. I thought I sent it to you. I was wondering why you weren't hopping in.
Well, I mean,
I put it in the Skype and I just didn't hit enter on the message.
Well, don't him and Luke live together? I mean, they could just like go in the same room, I guess.
I'm trying to think what else I've seen as of late. I've seen. Well, that whole Bechtloff. Have you heard about Spencer's supposed? His wife has made a GoFundMe. Did you hear about that?
What for her divorce proceedings? I mean,
yes.
Hashtag GoFund help fund our lives.
Isn't she already going to get some fucking money from Spencer or what?
She claims that she's broke and that like she's only getting like $550 a month from Spencer and child support and all this stuff. It's obvious grift. Like a pox on both their houses.
What a bitch. I don't trust that fucking woman. She's crazy. Not even crazy. She's just fucking. She's a bullshitter.
Well, I mean, I have no problem believing the allegations of abuse she leveled against Spencer, but it's obvious she's doing it to just get attention and money now. Because here's the thing: one of their kids was born like 2 years ago, so she apparently had no problem fucking the guy, or at least getting a turkey baster of his sperm. 2 years ago.
I told you, Matt. All those kids are mine.
They are.
Spencer was in the corner crying.
Well, this is a nice change of pace in a Sonic level.
What's up now?
Oh, I'm actually using Robotnik's technology against him.
I hate that hedgehog. They need to use that in like the new movie. They need to incorporate that somehow.
They need to not make that movie. That's a fucking terrible idea.
They do. They do.
God, who live action Sonic the Hedgehog? That's a good idea. No, that's the opposite of a good idea. That's very much not a good idea.
He's a relic of the 1990s.
No, I think Sonic could still be relevant. I mean, hell, Mania is pretty good. It's just Team Sonic doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
They keep trying to appeal to the anime audience. I love anime. I just don't like the anime audience. The fans always kill it for me.
I don't know. I was never a big Sonic guy. As far as I can say, basically, Sonic died after the 16-bit generation.
Pretty much.
Like,
I mean,
literally, because like I don't understand this. Why did Sega never make a Sonic game for the Saturn? Be like a Nintendo console about Mario. Makes no sense.
Yeah, that was basically the death of Sega, really. I mean, like I love the Genesis era Sonic games, and I love the the cartoon with like Princess Sally and the comic book it inspired. But everything, and I like Mania, but everything, because it's just like the Genesis games. But everything else about Sonic, I think, is mediocre at best and cringy dog shit at worst.
Hey, we have Matt and Richard in the chat now.
How's it going, guys?
Hi. What's up? What Sonic game is this? Because that doesn't look like the Hydro City Zone I remember from.
It's Mania.
Sonic 3. Oh, okay.
It's
I never played that.
Yeah, it's pretty much just like Sonic. It's pretty much just the original Genesis games remixed. There's a couple of new stages in it, but it's primarily remixes of the old levels.
That's cool. That's what they should have done with it from the get-go, as far as like Sonic sequels.
Oh yeah, because think about what came out at the same time, around the same time as this, is Sonic Forces, where you can make your own DeviantArt cringe character in it.
Oh man!
Wait, I just fire everyone in Team Sonic and make fucking Christian Whitehead the like literally Mania came about because they just basically gave one of the like biggest Sonic ROM hackers out there. They just basically gave him permission to make his own game, like official. Like the first thing they let him do is they let him port Sonic CD onto like mobile phones. Like they let him do the coding for that and all that shit. But then they were just like, yeah, go ahead and make your own game.
Jesus. Like
so literally they just had to hand it to a fan.
Is that the Sonic Chew fucking like power up?
Oh no, this is Supersonic.
Yeah, that's when you got all the Chaos Emeralds. But no, think about it. They literally just had to hand it to a fan and say, "Here, can you figure out what to do with this thing we own? Because we don't know."
Well, Sega is like super incompetent. They have been. Well, the last console they had was the Dreamcast, right? They stopped making consoles after that. They couldn't. Yeah. They pretty much. I think the Dreamcast did pretty poorly. I had one actually.
And the Dreamcast did better than the Saturn. Like the Saturn was what really killed it for them because the Dreamcast did not do well enough to absorb the losses they took from the Saturn. Because the Saturn was just was a piece of shit hardware.
Well, it always seemed like Sega was coming in a little bit too early with the technology before it had been perfected. Like the Sega CD, which was the attachment to the Genesis, was the first, as far as I know, like CD system or whatever. But it was in like 1990 when it came out or something. So it was like way too early. And all it was is like FMV games and shit like that.
Yeah, the CD and the 32X were both really bad ideas.
They did the 32X right before the Saturn too. And again, they botched it because, they didn't make it its own. Now, I had a 32X as a kid. And yeah, I loved it. But then again, I didn't have to pay money for it. My grandma got it for me.
I'm an SNES guy myself, personally.
But, I got the 32X and I was excited for it. And they were going to make all these new 32X games. And then, what was it? Like a year and a half later, no more new 32X games. Fuck you.
Well, it's like, what was the point? Because they released it right before the Saturn, like you said, Bechtloff. And so everyone decided, I can get this little add-on right now, or I can wait and get the Saturn, which will be more expensive, but also will be superior and have better games. So everyone waited for the Saturn.
Well, and the poor saps, like I was a kid, I didn't know any better. I thought it was the next thing, and I wanted it, and my grandma got it for me, and I got Doom on it, which aside from the music is a pretty good port as far as console ports. But then there was nothing else. There was a Knuckles game that was interesting but flawed, and then everything else was stuff that you could get on other systems, like lesser versions. You know what I mean? Or bet you could get like there's a pretty good version of Primal Rage on the 32X, but there's a perfectly fine version on the Genesis.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite example of this is how the Doom was ported to both the 32X and the Super Nintendo. Yet the Super Nintendo version not only has more has music, better music, but it also has more levels. Like, how the fuck do you fuck that up?
In all fairness, though, the graphics on the Super Nintendo version are, I'm sorry, I consider the Super Nintendo version unplayable. Like, well, yes, the music is way better. I'm not that big of a fan of Doom's music in the first place, though, if I'm being honest with you. But yes, the music is considerably better than the fart noises of the 32X. But I usually just turn the fucking music off anyways.
Well, it's like it's like the indie video name Bird said. Like, yeah, the graphics are better on 32X, but everything's supposed to be better. And I consider the fact that you even got the Doom on the Super Nintendo kind of impressive in and of itself.
It's impressive. It's an impressive. It's an interesting little bit of video game history, but aside from being a video game collector, and there's no other reason to own it. I mean, it is a very even as I know PC mustard race. Even as far as console ports of Doom go, it's rough.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you're playing a console version of Doom, generally you're wrong. But
I mean, I'd rather play the Game Boy Advance port.
Yeah, or at least play it on your fucking calculator. Play it on your graphics calculator, so to speak.
Which you can do.
Yeah, you can. I mean, that's the fun. Like I quit the whole console.
Doom was the original Skyrim in that regard. They put that shit on everything.
They did.
Have you guys seen that meme of the difference between an engineer and a computer engineer and a computer scientist?
No.
It's like they both discover a massively advanced alien computer, and the computer scientist is just going over the possibilities about what they could do. And like the engineer comes back and I got it to play Doom.
It seems like the earlier generations had so much more variety. Like you got a Genesis, you had Sonic, you had Nintendo and Mario. But it seemed like as time went on, and I don't know, I haven't had an actual console since PS2, but it seems like nowadays it's like everything is on every system, and there's no differentiation between.
Not only that, you get even like licensed games, you get completely different games on different systems. Like, say Aladdin on the Genesis is a completely different game developed by a completely different company than on the Super Nintendo. Other licensed games like Jurassic Park, completely different on the.
I have a perfect example of what you're talking about. The first 3 Harry Potter games, well, the first 2 especially, there was one version for the PS1, one for the for the computer, and one for the PS2 generation. And they're all so very unique that they're all completely different games. And honestly, they're fun little platformers for the PS1 at least. They're the best licensing games I've ever played. Which that's not saying much.
There's a really good channel called Console Wars that looks into like differences between Genesis and Super Nintendo games. Which again, sometimes it's completely different games. Sometimes it's just different versions of the same game.
Yeah, I mean,
you mentioned Jurassic Park. Did you ever play this game on the Genesis called Jurassic Park Rampage Edition?
I only got it recently.
Dude,
as I got back into it. But because as a kid, I didn't think it was a different game. I thought it was just a slightly update because it's such a stupid fucking title for a sequel.
Well, it's very accurate though. You just go around killing you kill people and dinosaurs when you're playing as Grant. There's
it's basically like the ADD version of the original game.
Yeah, it's the good version.
Fun, but it's
the original game. I think was like some puzzle solving game or something. It wasn't even.
No, the original game was almost sort of. It sort of had that when you play as Grant. It sort of had that, I guess you call it cinematic platformer thing, like a Prince of Persia thing, where you had to be very meticulous about, your jumping and your platforming and climbing ledges and shit. But it also had a bit of a survival horror almost element to it. Like you really feel outmatched the entire time playing as Grant. And then playing as the Raptor is basically just, fucking kill a bunch of people. It's the Raptor.
Yeah,
the Raptor
and the final boss
is
is another Raptor. I remember that.
But yeah, Rampage Edition is just, and Rampage Edition is even a lot brighter. I consider the first Jurassic Park game on the Genesis to be just an absolute fucking masterpiece. It's one of the Genesis best games. Like I said, it has shades of survival horror before that was even really much of a thing. Rampage Edition is fun, but it's not not the original.
I had the ASCII controller back then. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't think I do.
It's a Genesis controller that you could click this little like button, and it would have like turbo mode, so you could hold down a button. So it would just rapid fire like crazy. There was no like this is before they started putting cooldown times or anything like that. So in this game, you could just use like the most basic gun, like the dart gun or whatever it is, and just hold that because it's got infinite ammo. You could just hold that thing down.
Yeah, you notice how like Grant can like drop down these ledges like your standard platformer. He couldn't do that in the first game. In the first game, if you dropped down too far, you took a shit ton of damage. So this one's just like fuck it.
See, there's no guy. Why isn't there no dudes shooting at him in this game? Because I remember there's one. Okay. All right.
So why are the humans and dinosaurs in cahoots with each other in this version?
There wasn't any fucking story to this one.
That's why
I just took the game engine of the last one. It was like just crank the dial up to 11. It honestly feels like a ROM hack of the original. This feels like something a fan would have made. Just like, yeah, fuck it.
Have you ever played? Have you ever played the Jurassic Park: The Chaos Continues for the SNES?
I didn't. I didn't play any of the SNES Jurassic Park. I played the NES and the Game Boy versions, which are just watered down versions of the SNES Jurassic Park. But the SNES Jurassic Park kind of sucks. Like the Genesis, that's definitely a case where Sega did what Nintendo didn't, because the Genesis one is fantastic. The ones on the Super Nintendo, meh, big nothing.
Would you say that Sega Genesis or Sega as a whole went for more style while Nintendo went for more substance?
That's kind of fitting. I think Sega was willing to take a lot more risks generally. They were obviously, being the more edgy company and the underdog, as it were.
Wasn't Sega like American and like Japan was like?
No, they were both Japanese companies. But Sega of America had a lot more freedom to do shit that Nintendo of America didn't. Like Sonic Spinball that wasn't the Japanese developers. That was Sega of America developed that. I find that games that were released on both consoles are most of the time better on Sega. I think Aladdin is that's a very different game, but I think Aladdin's better on the Genesis.
It's a ball buster, but yeah.
Certain games that were multi-platform, like Earthworm Jim, is better on the Genesis because Earthworm Jim was made with the Genesis. Booger Man was better on the Genesis.
I didn't know either of those games came out for the Nintendo. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
I didn't know either of those games came out for the Nintendo.
They both came out on the Genesis first.
That's why.
What the fuck is this, Luke?
Earthworm Jim.
This game was rad.
Yeah, Earthworm Jim is great.
I'm looking at, and this must be some sort of delay because I'm looking at Spinball.
Oh, you're looking at the YouTube window. That's why.
If you look at the actual Google Hangouts window, you'll see what's live.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's Earthworm Jim. I know what that is.
Yeah, Earthworm Jim was great. Good stuff, man.
Oh, Comic Zone was a classic.
Oh yeah, love.
Oh yeah.
See, that was a legit game right there. That was creative. It was innovative. It flowed well. It was fucking cool, man. I loved that game.
Yeah, Comic Zone's good.
And I don't know.
I didn't actually play that as a kid. First time I played that was like the mid 2000s. It was on a Sonic collection that I had for the PS2. Like I remember hearing about it as a kid, and I think I might have played it, like rented it once, but I just didn't have it. But yeah, it's
I had that
game,
one.
man.
Yeah.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, this
What
could
game
not
am I
be made
seeing
3
now?
volumes.
Fighting
comic
style
style.
games.
Yeah, talk about limitations of
Sega-
2D and 3D.
Did Sega do
They
what?
had oh, I was gonna say I remember that they had some really good arcade games, but I can't remember what they were.
I know they had an arcade version of Sonic.
I mean,
Are you talking about like
I don't
beat 'em
think
up
they had any
games?
fighting games on the arcade, did they?
I don't know if they had any fighting games. I know they had Streets of Rage, but I don't think those were originally arcade games. They're beat 'em ups, but I think they were originally on the Genesis.
AVP.
You know, I don't remember. I don't remember. It's been so long since I've been in an arcade.
There's actually a nice retro arcade in my area that like all the machines are free to play, and you basically pay by the hour to be in there.
You say AVP?
Yeah, AVP.
Oh, Aliens versus Predator? Yeah, they
beat
did
'em
that.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, they did that one. That was a good one, man. I got to try and find some like some arcade ROMs. Because I'm putting together this little retro
Shooting
pie
one
thing
or
that I want to
something
get
like
some,
House of the Dead style, or
yeah, they did House of the Dead.
I expected that to happen. He just goes to the next frame and he's at the temple. I've never heard of this game before, guys.
that was a good one.
Oh yeah, Comic Zone's good.
Did he just pick up a rat
I don't know anyone that ever beat it
as a
though.
weapon? He did pick up a rat as a weapon. Neat.
Oh, this is a great one, man. I loved this game.
The Seventh Guest is for the PC.
You carry a rat with you. You have that in the top right is your inventory. There's 3 items you can hold.
You're great. Sega had a lot of great games that they don't do anything with anything but Sonic anymore, and all they're doing with Sonic is raping his poor corpse.
It took them for fucking ever to put out a enhanced version of Shenmue, for example. You know the fans have been clamoring for that one for years.
I would love it if we could get some more fucking Vector Man. They made 2 Vector Man games on the Genesis, and they were both fantastic, and everybody loved them, and they sold great, and then they just never did anything with it again.
Anyway,
These companies.
Mind you, I'm glad they didn't botch it in their botched moves to 3D. But now that everyone's okay with playing 2D games again, can we get Vector Man back?
I think the problem with Nintendo, Sega, and these other big companies, they have too many IPs and not enough people to make them. But Sega's starting to get the idea, say, hey, just let the fans make new games for us. Why don't we just actually make a profit?
Nintendo's long known that it pays to farm your shit out to other studios. I mean, just look at what stuff like Retro Studios did. I mean, Retro Studios created the Metroid Prime series. They revived Donkey Kong Country back in the Wii. So Nintendo knows, hey, just have some other studios work on your shit.
They're just not with the times.
Yeah, Sega though, I don't know what the hell Sega's doing, man.
I think it probably has to do with some sort of licensing issue. Like everyone, like the original contract might have been so convoluted. They had so many third parties make stuff for them. They have to hunt down the copyrights. No one wants to do that.
Well, no, if you had a company make something for you, you should still own it. Like a lot of people thought that for the longest time, because Nintendo wasn't doing anything with Donkey Kong Country, they were like, I guess Rare must own all those Donkey Kong Country characters. Like, no, Nintendo owns them.
No,
yeah, Rare created them, but they created them for Nintendo.
Yeah, the IP they own is Banjo-Kazooie. Like, they own the Banjo-Kazooie, which is why the new Banjo games are on Xbox.
Which, I mean, yeah, I guess Microsoft owns them now. But yeah, like, I mean, they created everything in the Donkey Kong Country series except basically Donkey Kong. Diddy Kong, all those characters, and they own them all flat out. Nintendo just owns those.
Oh yeah, they also own Perfect Dark. where Rare does. But that's
didn't that only have the one game for Nintendo 64? Or was there another one?
There was the N64 game, and then there was the prequel, Perfect Dark Zero, for the Xbox 360.
I've never heard of it.
It was
Rare's one of those companies that really seemed to lose its way after it went to Microsoft.
That game was not very good.
Well, I think the reason why they lost their way was because a lot of their IPs were very childish. Like Banjo-Kazooie, childish. Xbox was always the adult console.
I think you ended up with a lot of interference from Microsoft. I think Microsoft bought Rare and then decided they were going to micromanage Rare.
It was probably basically a case of like they didn't really want Rare specifically. They wanted to have it just to make sure Nintendo couldn't have it.
Yeah, they really did nothing with it afterwards. I wouldn't be surprised if it was basically the idea of like, let's take this from Nintendo.
I mean, like basically, like what did they do in the years after they were acquired by Microsoft? The games they put out included Grabbed by the Ghoulies, which was a fucking joke. There was Perfect Dark Zero, which was a joke and was only put out because Bungie wasn't able to get Halo 3 together in time for the Xbox 360's launch. There was Cameo, which I hear was pretty good. And there was the Banjo-Kazooie sequel, which I hear was pretty good.
Rare owns Conker, right? Conker, like from Conker's
Oh yeah. They also put out a remake of Conker's Bad Fur Day. But here's the thing: the version they put out on Xbox, the remake, was censored. The Nintendo 60, yes.
What? That's so insanely stupid.
The Nintendo 64 version was uncensored. The Xbox version was censored.
I mean, think about it. Like, Conker is the exact game you want to make right now, because there's so many adults that have this nostalgia boner for those types of games that to basically put out dirty versions of classic cartoon 3D platformers would sell like a candy-coated AIDS cure in San Francisco.
Are you suggesting
no, it wouldn't sell very well in San Francisco. They don't want to cure their AIDS down there.
No, that's true.
Are you suggesting they go the way of Cartoon Network with Adult Swim, how they had like Space Ghost Coast to Coast and all these IPs that were just sitting there and then they made them for adults, essentially?
Well, let me put it this way. A good Conker's Bad Fur Day game, well-written, funny, solid mechanics, that would make me actually want a fucking Xbox again.
Would it really be worth
Probably not, but like, yeah. I mean, let me put it this way. I really want to play the new Spider-Man game, but that's not enough to make me want to get a PS4. And it would probably be that same thing, but like, it would move me in that direction.
There's no killer app, so to speak. It's the same way.
There are no apps.
There's nothing. There's a I don't think there's barely anything on the PS4, but there's a handful of games I can point to on the PS4 that are worth owning that are exclusive.
Speaking of Spider-Man, I just saw the Far From Home trailer. Can you tell me who the hell that villain is aside from the Mysterio? There's another villain.
I'm sorry, my headphone fell out for a second. Tell me what about the Spider-Man trailer?
Spider-Man Far From Home. From what I can tell, there are two villains. One is definitely Mysterio. Who's the other?
I don't know. I didn't get the trailer yet.
Oh, never mind then. He looks like Sandman, but made of water.
Oh, that would be Hydro Man then.
Hydro
I've
Man,
never heard of him.
Really? He was all over the 90s cartoon. But yeah, it's basically the same thing as Sandman, but made of water.
I think he also was stalking like Mary Jane or something in the
90s cartoon. Yeah, he kept trying to fuck Mary Jane.
Who doesn't?
Cuddle alone.
Yeah, really. I mean, can you blame him?
Doesn't everyone?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because it's 2:45, and I'm going to have to get to bed here shortly.
Well, hopefully I can come on and talk about what I want to talk about next time.
Well, sure. Did you want to? I know we talked about Arini was shitting on you. Did you have something you wanted to say real quick on that?
Yeah. Well, I'm usually interrupted a lot. I know that myself. I know that, but I'm going to ask you guys. Let me tell the whole story. My last conversation with Davis Arini. It was just him telling me to. It was just him saying, you know what? Just stop trying to focus on your products. Just go work, save up some money, buy a car, do all this other stuff. And here's the thing: I listened to him. Ever since then, I am twice the man I was this time last year because I've actually opened up a savings account. I'm actually saving money for the first time in my life. I bought my first car instead of just helping roommates make payments on their cars and having partial ownership. I lost 20 pounds, and yet still put on muscle. I'm doing great. And I'm at the point now that, I also built up my credit score, and I'm still building it up. Like, I've done all these things that he suggested while he went off and did this, and I stopped paying attention to most of the interweb stuff. When I come back, I found out Davis lost his mind, and he's insulting me.
Yeah, he lost his mind, all right.
What did he say to you?
I don't know. From what I can tell, this is the first I heard of it. I think Luke said something about him saying I'm too ambitious or something like that.
He was shit-talking you to me
okay.
privately. Yeah, he said basically the gist was that you were a loser. That's what he was saying.
We kind of all are, but yeah. I don't understand where that conversation would have come up with. Our last conversation, well, actually, no, we talked on Skype once in July where we were talking about where he bought his sword. That was it. That was my last conversation with the guy, and then I come back to all this.
Yeah, a guy who LARPs with a bunch of Thor worshippers and plays with a sword on YouTube is called Joe Loser. So I would say take that with a grain of salt.
I know, but still, it bothers me not that he said it. It's bothered me that he's lost his fucking mind.
What did he say exactly to you? What was his exact advice?
His advice was start working more, save up money, buy a car. He just said, just do all the stuff that adults are supposed to do instead of trying to launch your business now. And he was right. I didn't have the money. I almost have enough money to launch some of my business ideas. I think I'm still going to wait a while and just keep saving up money. I've mastered web programming pretty much. Maybe I got a little bit more to go with PHP and MySQL just because I can do HTML and CSS without a reference. Still kind of need a reference for PHP and MySQL to do most things, but I'm getting there. And I've gotten much better at 3D modeling. I'm still a shit artist, but I'm sure most people would disagree with me. Like most artists think that way about themselves. So yeah, my life's gone great since I last saw him and left the interwebs, and I'm probably going to start making videos again soon. Start a new channel. That's one of the reasons I left the internet, because I'm like, you know what? It's just not worth my time. Yeah, I got other shit to worry about.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Maybe it's
maybe it's getting to the point
what was that, Matt? I'm sorry, Matt. What you say?
I said glad to hear it. Glad to hear.
Oh, I thought you said something about what you were doing in Europe. Okay, go ahead. Whatever you were saying?
Oh, maybe it's getting to the point where you should do it as Davis says, but not as he does.
Exactly. He's right. It was good advice.
So you're saying you shouldn't join a pagan cult?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, and unless there are women already a part of it. You know, if you're doing it to get laid, just say, yes, honey, we're talking to Thor. Praise the sun.
So I shouldn't join a pagan cult, but I should feel free to create one.
Praise the sun, make me a son, you know.
That was good, Matt.
Good Lord.
Jeez.
Like, and you know, he once again, like with that thing, oh, you're misogynist. It's like you just want to keep deflecting it away from like you're in a pagan cult, dude. Okay, it's like just that. There's no.
The more
nothing you're gonna say is gonna make you not be in a pagan cult. Like, what are you possibly gonna say to me? Like, oh, like.
It's like with the Go debate where where we kept calling Baked Alaska retarded. It's like, you can call me retarded. All I have to say is a black kid sucked your cock.
Who's this?
Jim Goad.
Oh, I don't want to know. I think I've heard you guys talk about him in passing. I don't want to know more again.
Yeah, we don't need to go over that again. But it's like the same kind of thing. It's like with Davis. Like, yeah, he can insult all of us, but we have to say, like, you joined a pagan cult. No, you helped found a pagan cult.
Oh my God. But yeah, I worked a bunch of different jobs. I think you guys remember I became a car salesman for like a couple of weeks there, made a shit ton of money. I'm like, you know what? It's not worth 70 hours a week of my life.
Shit. Like, how long did this take you, may I ask?
8 months. Like, I have no debt. I didn't really have any debt to begin with, to be fair. I built up my credit score. It's now in the mid 600s.
Awesome, dude.
It's pretty cool.
Well, no, it's 690.
Oh, that's like you're basically near the top right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good.
I have a couple thousand in my savings and a couple more thousand in my regular checking, but that I intend to use all of that eventually. But yeah, I just saved away 10% of all the money I earned for the last few months. Well, I didn't start saving properly until like 3 months ago. And in another month, I'm going to start putting another 10% of all the money I make into an actual investing. Not stock markets, shareholding of companies.
I suggest investing in Dogecoin.
That's a good idea.
Going up.
Hang on a second. Pen, paper. I need to write that down.
Dogecoin.
Is that spelled with a D-O-U-G?
D-O-G-E.
D-O-G-E. That word seems familiar. It's an odd word. Must be internet Logan.
Dogecoin. It's going up. It's going up. It's the new hot shit. Sell Bitcoin. Buy Dogecoin. That's my advice to you all. Probably terrible advice, but there it is.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me talk about my experience with Davis. Yeah, you understand my confusion then.
Oh, he went fucking insane, dude. I
just couldn't believe the stuff I was hearing when I started listening to your podcast again.
He went fucking insane. He just... Oh, man. Like, you ever hear that joke? Like, it's like, if I could go back in time and tell myself all this stuff of the future, it'd be so. If I could go back in time just 1 year to the day right now, I'd be like,
I wouldn't
have. Hey, guess what's going to happen to Davis? He's going to go insane.
He's going to go insane. Nah.
Well, that would be somewhat believable. The dude was always on the other side, but he was always cool about it. He always had something interesting to say, and he had made good arguments.
He's going to join a pagan cult.
If you told me a year ago that the Davis of a year ago to convince me to join a pagan cult, you could probably get pretty close to convincing me. Yeah, he could argue for it.
Joined a pagan cult. Oh my God, it's just so cringy. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, folks.
All right.
Everybody, thanks for calling in. Thanks for being here. Great show tonight. I love that you could set the oil on fire with the flame shield.
Yeah, it's so fun.
This is fucking trippy. It reminds me of Rayman for some reason.
Graphics are gorgeous in Mania. Anyways, like I said, if you enjoy the content I put out, do consider supporting the show. You could do that by checking out the sponsor, Steve's Jerky. You can also do that by just sending me some PayPal ducats and some Patreon ducats and buying some dumb shit for me on the Amazon wish list. And that's about all we got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. Bechtloff out.